Top 5 Unbelievable Facts About Shaolin. 1. Shaolin was founded by an Indian. The Shaolin monastery seems so integral to Chinese culture that many are surprised to learn that its founder was not Chinese at all. Shaolin was founded by a wandering Buddhist monk from India named Batuwa or Buddhabhadra. He appeared in northern Wei province in 464 AD, and preached there for decades before the Emperor Xiaowen ordered a Shaolin monastery to be built for him on Mount Song, in present-day Hunan province. The elder became the first abbot of this monastery. Unfortunately, we have little historical evidence from that time, but historians have concluded that the monastery was a center for the translation of Buddhist texts into Chinese in those days. Led by Batuwa, the monks followed the charter of the Hinayana school of Buddhism, but since even monks found it quite difficult to follow this path, the monastery remained relatively small for a long time. Only with the arrival of Bodhidharma, another Buddhist monk, did the monastery abandon the Hinayana path and replace it with Zen Buddhism, which Shaolin monks still follow today. 2. It is not the only order of warrior monks. Contrary to popular belief, Shaolin is not the only order of warrior monks. Moreover, it is not even the first monastery to train martial monks. A century before Shaolin was founded, many Chinese monasteries already had their own stock of weapons and practiced the martial arts. Shaolin itself was built as a peaceful training center. According to the legend, only with the arrival of Bodhidharma in the 5th to 6th centuries AD did the monks of Shaolin begin to practice the martial arts. The first real records testifying to the practice of martial arts in Shaolin date back to the 14th century. Indeed, there was no shortage of religious orders practicing martial arts training around the world. In India, for example, the Naga Sadhu was one of the most heavily armed and militant sects in the entire country. The Shiva-loyal Sadhu warriors are familiar to modern tourists as Hindu saints in loincloths with tangled hair, but during the Mughal era, they were among the most dangerous fighters in Asia, armed with terrifying sharpened iron tongs. The Korean Buddhist monks of the Bol-Kyo Musul monastery also studied the martial arts, and were even called upon at one time to defend the country during emergencies. In Japan, the Sohei warrior monks once controlled large areas, believing in the path to salvation through holy war. Even in Tibet there were several brotherhoods of warrior monks under the Dalai Lama. 3. Kung Fu did not come from Shaolin. It is often heard in China that all martial arts came from Shaolin, but in fact this is not true. For several centuries after the monastery was founded, it was a peaceful community, without the slightest sign of studying the martial arts. The monks did take part in the battles that helped bring the Tang dynasty, 618 to 907 AD, to power, but even this doesn't prove the fact that they developed specific methods of fighting. Historians believe that the monks simply used the weapons given to them by the Tang dynasty during combat, and were no more skilled in the art of combat than ordinary soldiers. While the earliest mentions of martial arts practiced at Shaolin Monastery date back to the 14th century, other orders of monks began diligently studying martial arts and stick fighting as early as the 12th century. The first mentions of hand-to-hand combat in Shaolin date back to the 16th century. Meanwhile, the history of Kung Fu began long before that time, not to mention the fact that the first mentions of this art go back to a time before the Shaolin Monastery was even founded. Chuanqiu records from around 800 to 500 BC refer to hard and soft hand-to-hand combat techniques, the two techniques that formed the basis of modern Kung Fu. At the time of the Mun Dynasty, 1368 to 1644 AD, when Shaolin had just begun to be associated with the perfect martial arts, Kung Fu was already known throughout China. 4. Shaolin helped the royal dynasty come to power. The beginnings of Shaolin's power took root at the end of the Sui dynasty, 581 to 618 AD. The Sui dynasty had unified China, but a series of popular uprisings and the subsequent assassination of the emperor led to their swift overthrow. Following these unfortunate events, several noble houses began to vie for control of the collapsing empire. One of the pretenders to the throne was Wang Shichong, a former general under the Sui dynasty who had already seized Jing province. To strengthen his hold on the ancient capital Luoyang, Wang Shichong built a signal tower and set up a military camp on Mount Huanyuan, a piece of land which was a gift to the Shaolin monastery from Emperor Wendi of the Sui dynasty. Fearing that the monks would revolt, he sent an army to the walls of the monastery, ordering it to be besieged. To offer proper resistance, the monks swore allegiance to his rival, Li Yuan, who eventually became the founder of the Tang dynasty. Li Yuan sent his son Li Shimin to help the monks. With the help of the monks, Li Shimin was able to defeat Wang Shichong's army, liberated Luoyang and forced the invader to surrender. After this victory, the Tang dynasty assumed the ruling position in China, which it held until 907. The role played by the Shaolin monks in this war ensured them many years of honor and respect. 5. Shaolin against the Japanese pirates. As they developed their martial skills, Shaolin monks often participated in battles for China. One of the most significant threats to the stability of the country's economy came from the sea in the form of the ferocious wokou, the dwarf pirates from Japan. In the early 16th century, the coastal cities of China were constantly plundered by these pirates. Trade was severely hampered and people fled the coast in droves. The final straw was the wokou attack on the port city of Hangzhou in 1553. Hundreds died, thousands were left homeless, many buildings were destroyed, and the entire city was looted to the ground. At the time, by royal order, 120 elite warrior monks were sent to destroy the pirate menace. This campaign was led by Shaolin generals named Tianjin and Tianchi. The monks sought out the pirates to destroy them, but it was not as easy as they thought. In 3 of the 4 battles, the monks failed to do anything. Only during the last battle did the monks manage to win and defeat the enemy. During this campaign, the monks proved to be quite brutal, killing every pirate that came their way. One of the monks even used his iron staff to kill a pirate's wife for trying to escape.